Welcome to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast, where high-achieving entrepreneurs and leaders come to receive deep, insightful conversations and practical guidance to move from hustle to flow without sacrificing their authentic self and the results. I am your host and Chief Energy Officer, Tammy Cho, a former patient care leader turned international best-selling author, speaker, and face and body analysis expert. Get ready to lead your authenticity, lead your energy, and lead your impact. Hi there and welcome. Wherever you're tuning in from, whether you're listening in or watching in, special welcome to you. My name is Tammy Cho. I'm a self-worth and energy leadership mentor, and I help impact-driven entrepreneurs and leaders really fall in love with their authentic self so they can powerfully and confidently show up for who they are, their purpose, and their impact. Now, wherever you are on your journey, we all hit plateaus to scale, lead, and thrive into your next level and potential. Sometimes that looks like you've reached a certain level of success, and yet something feels like it's missing. Or sometimes it's that imposter syndrome. And other times there's that awareness, you're just playing small, that you feel like there's something more for you. And I use face analysis as well as human design and NLP to really uncover hidden emotional blocks that silently drain your energy and your confidence and get in the way of you really elevating and stepping into your authentic leadership, where your success feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. And kudos to all the things that we have achieved that look good on the outside. But there's something to be said with being able to show up authentically for who we are and to feel as good as it looks on the outside. And in today's episode, I'm actually going to be diving into a face analysis inner awakening session that I had with one of my past clients. I really want to highlight this point, because anytime there's a part within ourselves that we do not see, we're not aware of, we're not recognizing within ourselves, or we're hiding away, whether that's consciously or subconsciously, we are not fully allowing ourselves to be fully expressed, living our purpose and impact. Does that make sense? Because if we're in the energy of not fully showing up as who we are, we're actually not receiving and letting more in. And when we are not letting things in, or that we are not living our fullest potential, there always feel like there's a part of us missing, right? It feels like this void within ourselves. There's this part of us that we know that we're meant for more. And even though we may feel like we have everything on the outside, that we should be happy, you can't get over this part within ourselves. That is our soul. Is that part of ourselves that is calling us for more, telling us there's more alignment pieces for us. And for those that don't know what face analysis is, essentially our facial features, like the size of our eyes, like how our eyebrows are placed, the thickness of our lips, like all these kind of features on our face actually speak to something deeper inside of ourselves, our emotional history, our soul's expression. And our left side of our face is our inner world, and the right side is our outer world. I use this process of face analysis to really bridge these pieces within you so that you can identify what is out of alignment exactly. Because I don't know about you, but it really racks my brain sometimes when, before I've learned about face analysis, it really bothers me when it feels like things are working, seem like they're on par with where I want to go with my goals, but it feels like something is missing or something's out of alignment within myself. There's a part that often tells us when we're out of alignment. And so this is the power of a face analysis. And what I've learned is that your body doesn't lie. It's all written right here. And face analysis is essentially for anyone that is on the journey. You are on the journey of personal development. You know that in order to create change in the world, it starts with changing your inner world, and you believe in being the change that you want to see. Face analysis is for someone wanting to hit that next level, and you're wanting to explore what are the subconscious blocks in the way? What am I not seeing? When we're able to bring what is unconscious to the conscious level, then we can start to really address those things. We can start to move past those things, right? One of the other reasons someone may want to do a face analysis inner awakening session is that you're a truth seeker. You need to see the truth within yourself. You know that it's a non-negotiable to not live in your truth. And one of the other ways that I find face analysis excitingly interesting is it allows ourselves to measure our progress. So one of the things I do is that I do a face analysis session at the beginning of a coaching package and at the end, so we can really see the difference. And so we could assess where your face is at and also compare it to where you were in your journey previously. I've also looked at childhood photos of my clients to compare what things may have changed since then and where did we move out of how we used to be, and was it a conscious decision or was it something that we've forgotten who we are? And so these are some of the powerful ways why someone would want to book a face analysis inner awakening session. And if you're wanting to take the first step, I have a free resource called What Does Your Face Say About Your Self-Leadership? And so it will be at the bottom of the show notes. If you want to tap into that, we actually go through your inner and outer world, where your place that you are more likely to lead from, where your gifts lie and things like that. And so it's really, really cool resource that I invite you to explore. And if you do that for yourself and then come back to listen to this podcast, it's going to open your eyes in so many different ways and really inspire you to really look deeper in yourself and to really step deeper into your purpose and impact. So in this podcast, I'm going to be walking you through a journey I had with a client called Michael. And he was someone that was really curious about what his face was saying about him, but it really uncovered several things for him. And I hope through walking you through this journey, how it will open you up to see different features on your face, what it's highlighting, where it's actually trying to scream and get your attention to look at, and to really explore this within yourself. Because we only have one body and it is our blueprint. And it really is time for all of us to learn to start to read this blueprint and to really incorporate the meanings of what your body's trying to tell you on a regular basis, and really be your own inner coach. They really take that leadership by the reins. So one of the first steps I walk someone through is to really look at their face and see what they see from their face. Because there's one thing about what I see in someone's face, but it also speaks to a lot to see what you, like Michael, in this next clip, I'm going to show you what he saw on his face. And so let's tune into that. First of all, Michael, when you see this picture of yourself, what comes up for you?
Kind of lopsided looking, actually. That's the first thing I noticed. That there's
Okay.
difference in muscle tone from one side to the left side.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a particular part of your face that you're drawn to when you speak about this lopsidedness?
Well, on the right side, my right eye is a little more open than my left side.
Okay.
And with that being said, the left side of my face, the corner of my mouth, is a little more upturned than the right side.
Mm-hmm.
Like upturned towards a smile more than my left side, a little more downturned.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the nostril flare is a little more pronounced to the left and a little less pronounced on the right. Those are the biggest things I noticed.
So in this clip with Michael, we're able to see, if you're watching this, if you're not watching this, you can see the photo. If you tune into YouTube, this is not only on audio podcasts, it's also on visual podcasts. Really tune into that. Like one side, the left side of his face is his private world, the inner world, so to speak, the feminine world. And you can see that it's different compared to the right side. And it's noticeable to Michael as well. He's able to pick out that his eyes are different size. And so there's a place within him that he wasn't necessarily opening his heart to other people. His eyes on the inner world was actually smaller. He could see that in his inner world, his left lip was actually turned up more. And this will show up more clearly in the later clips. But there was like a part of himself on the inside that was actually feeling more happy than he actually allowed himself to show up on the outside. And this is very interesting as we did discuss this later. So these pieces on our face that are showing up in disconnection to each other, out of alignment, these are some of the pieces that is important to actually dive in a lot deeper than just looking at our features and seeing that they're different. This is a part of your inner soul, Michael's inner soul, that's actually calling him to go deeper within himself. And that smaller size left nostril is really showing there's some pinching in of emotions. And so is all very interesting. Next, we're going to look into a clip where we look at the strengths of Michael as it shows up on his face shape. Okay, and so let's tune into that. So I will highlight that when I look at your face shape, and we see that it's more of a rectangular shape. And so that tells me that a lot about your personality as a person. Like, you're very practical. It tells me that you're very hardworking, loyal, very trustworthy personality. Most importantly, the fact that you have a very long up and downwards, it's highlighting that you have a lot of capacity for humanitarianism. Of course, when someone has this shape, it's also, they have the capacity, but we need to also like look into, like, is this something that you're taking action towards, and to what degree? But just to recognize that you definitely have this capacity to do that. I'm also seeing a lot of passion in what you're doing. Like, your eyebrows, they're quite, I would say, on the full end. And so this tells me that you're very passionate about what you do. You're someone that actually can multitask. This is telling me that you can have a few things on the go. How does that land for you, Michael?
Well, depictions media, or the business that I have, it's about fighting for humanitarian rights and human rights and stuff like that. So it's like, you're telling me I'm on the right path there. You mentioned loyal. Yes, most people that have been friends with you for a long time, they'll say that I am loyal, So there's a lot of things that you said there. They definitely ring bells.
One other thing that I'll say too is that it's highlighting for me that the shape of your eyebrow, the fact that it starts right here and then it ends all the way here, and the rounded shape of it. So there's a part of you that is a bit on the analytical side, but you definitely have that compassion, that empathy for the world, because this is being your right side. It's kind of like you show to the world and how you be with the world. And so I'm noticing that on this end, there's less of that. And there's definitely some space to have a bit more empathy or kindness for yourself.
You're describing me well again. I'm probably my worst critic. I'm not easy on myself at all. And as far as the empathy is concerned, I've been told that many times that it, when I'm interviewing people or I'm filming people, that they say that they feel that comfort, that calmness, that it's like, it's okay. We can do this. And that's that empathy coming through. And so for Michael, when I was reading the shape of his face and highlighting his strengths, there's also this place within himself that he wasn't giving this empathy and kindness to himself. And so for many impact driven entrepreneurs, we're so focused on giving to other people. It feels good in the moment. And of course, in and of itself, it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. However, if we're not actually giving ourselves what we're giving to other people, this is why the internal depletion starts to happen. And you can see it on Michael's face, the left side of his face. That's why there was less muscle tone. There's less consciousness and energy being allowed him to be brought into his body, into his life. And therefore, it could eventually affect the impact that he's putting out there. And sometimes it's also about how much energy we have in ourselves to give.
And when this balance of giving and receiving, it's too much giving versus receiving, it starts to wear down our body, wear down our impact. And the impact that we are making is filtered through an energy of emptiness, of holding back. And so everyone loses at the end. And because he's able to multitask, so it's really easy to get into the cycle of overdoing and not taking care of self. And the piece I want to highlight here too, he already knows that he's full of empathy and compassion, and he wants to make this impact. He's aware of that. He's also aware of being his worst critic. And it's not about just knowing that. We actually know a lot of things, but are we addressing it? Are we being with it? Because what shows up on our face and body, it's emotional needs. It's our emotional history. It's our relationship with our emotions. What we don't address and we repress or suppress gets shown in the body. And so this is really important to ask yourself, like, where do you know something, but you find you're repeating the same patterns and you're still being the same person? As I progress with Michael's analysis, we're going to look into his public face, where we put two right sides of his face slitted together. And so let's see what we discover here. Notice how there's this white sort of line that comes on both sides here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, the lack of expression for yourself on the outer world here, it's actually creating some grief lines. Notice how your lips, how they form together, kind of goes down. Yes. How you're seeing the world could be a bit on the negative worldview.
Yeah, I probably do see some negative in the world, yes. And through this clip, you can see through Michael's face how there was literally a whitish line that was forming over his lip, forming into grief lines on the face. And when I do face analysis on different people, often this white line is formed. And when we actually allow ourselves to express what we need to, express our emotions to the outer world in this way, that white part over someone's lip is often actually more surface area for the actual size of their lip. It's truly quite amazing. And so this is a place within yourself that you can look at. Is there sort of like a fine white line, whether it's at the top or bottom of your lip? Are there unspoken words that have not been said? Because for Michael, it was affecting how much happiness he was able to express on the outside. I don't know if you remember from earlier, in one of the earlier clips, his left upper lip was actually more neutral. However, on the outside, he wasn't really letting himself express. And so this holding in of expression was filtering his lens, seeing the world in a negative light. And so whenever we express our purpose through the energy of there's something wrong with the world, not to say that the world, there's nothing wrong with the world, but when our own internal expression is affecting our energy essence to operate that impact out of, oftentimes that affects our results. It affects the impact that we can make because it's filtered through the lens of it's not working. And often that has to do with how we see ourselves. And Michael supports people to express their stories into the world through his podcasts. And oftentimes, what we do in our business, in our work, for others, there's an aspect of ourselves that needs to express for ourselves. And into the next clip, I'm guiding Michael to see his two left sides of his face together, his private world. So two left sides of his face placed together. And so let's take a look at that. And again, with this next picture, it's your two left sides. So it's your inner world. And I'm going to just give you 15, 30 seconds to just be with it. Okay.
Just breathe into your heart and breathe into your pelvis.
My face looks narrower this way. My nose a little bigger too.
Yes, your very high creative self.
Yeah.
And do you feel you recognize yourself in this picture, Michael?
I see a little more recognition in this one because the mole in there.
And that means what for you?
Genetically, it's a family trait. I should say my brother doesn't have it, but my sister, my niece, my mother, my grandmother had it.
Yeah, and yes, these imprints can definitely be passed on genetically.
It's like, so it's like it's the self-identifier thing. And so when I walked Michael to experience the inner world, he noticed his nose, and it didn't show in the clip, but literally this area on the tip of his nose was actually bigger on his inner world than outer world. And so there was this high creative part of himself in media productions, in the work that he does, that is not being expressed. All his capacity on his inner world, that it wasn't being expressed on the outside. And one of the things he identified with were these imprints. Oftentimes these black spots or brown spots, moles, so to speak, especially how he is describing it, how it's passed on, and how he identifies with it. So I know already, working with Michael, it's important to go deep into family lineage to really explore these pieces, because who we identify with, we become. And we will filter what we see through that lens, which will affect all of our lives. And this is in his emotional zone. And so this is very interesting. But yeah, this person looks a little more withdrawn, not as willing to just jump right in, and maybe a little more on the withdrawn, maybe not quite fearful, but you know what I mean? A little more cautious. You know, what emotion do you feel when you look at this part of you? It's a hard question, don't you? Holy crap. A little more anxiety over things. Yeah. And so now seeing these both side to side now, what comes up for you? The private side definitely looks way more reserved and withdrawn. And so in this clip, I was able to help Michael see how a big part of his inner world, he was withholding himself. Often when I support people in this process, there's a struggle to really connect to the emotions. Because often we think that to overcome something is to do yet another thing, but often it really is learning to be with our emotions and lead our emotions. And when we have not developed the skill to really hold ourselves in our emotions, oftentimes that's what is running the show, and it starts to affect our body. And so now we're going into another clip where Michael was actually interviewing me on his podcast. And I actually hadn't spoken to him after the face analysis inner awakening session. And this is what he shared about his experience and what opened up for him after having this experience.
Well, you said something there was part of that session that people didn't actually get to see, that we turned the cameras off and you kept going. And you said something to me that was really important in saying, oh, how does that person feel when you show me the image? And you said that he looks sad. And it was more because we have the masculine versus the female part of us. And you said that the female part of me looks sad. And you asked me what was I going to do about that? How was I going to address that? And it was like this hard stop. Well, wait a second. Sad? I don't feel sad, but part of me wasn't getting the energy that it was supposed to, and I had to change things in my life so that I could give that part of me more energy, that energy that it was supposed to have. And amazing things started happening. There were some massive changes in business in products and how we actually do things. We're talking more about services that we had hidden, and it's all because somebody asked a question. It's like, well, what are you going to do about that part of you? It looks sad and it looks neglected. So I owe you large chunks of gratitude towards that. And it was like, and I've been doing more of the photo trips, right? Me and my wife, we just go take off and we do the like these massive photo trips, and it's like we're having a ball with it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, Michael, and thank you so much for sharing. Prior to talking today, I wasn't even aware what you received from opening yourself to looking at this other part of you, right? I'm passionate about using someone's face and body to help expand their self-love and acceptance so that they can create that impact and that difference they want, the abundance with more ease and flow, simply by just being yourself, Michael. It's not that you didn't have that in you, is that sometimes we forget about these aspects of ourselves. And we don't think we haven't given ourselves permission, or we just didn't see that we were necessarily not fully expressing all parts of us. And honestly, when we allow ourselves to do that, that's when joy happens. That's when flow starts. That's when I feel it's a true abundance within our heart. It's the energy of loving and honoring ourselves so deeply to let ourselves fully express our gifts in our loving to this planet. And I know this is so important for you, Michael. And so I just feel so blessed that you trusted me to hold that space for you and to ask the questions that may feel maybe jarring in the moment, but It also opens up self.
And so I was really grateful to hear Michael's experience as he was interviewing me on his podcast. When we stop hiding pieces of ourselves, whether consciously or unconsciously, this is where life opens up for us. Like some of the things that Michael talked about, the hidden services, he was focusing on giving and interviewing others, but he actually had way more gifts and packages to help with editing and doing a lot of the media side of things that he wasn't putting out there. And this is his gift set that he's really good at. Another part that I actually talked to him later, what opened up for him as he learned to give himself more of what he needed, is that he ended up taking on a bigger project of doing bigger productions for this humanitarian project. And that project ended up winning like 3, maybe 4 awards. They were still like in the pending process of that. But I was just super excited for him because like when we open up more of ourselves to the world, we're letting things in not only physically, but it actually starts at the energetic level. And we may not be conscious of that, right, in life. And so this is an invitation for you to be taking on yourself in a more conscious way, to really live life in a way where you prioritize yourself first and to give yourself what you need. It's love as a business strategy where you get to be fulfilled and happy and joyful first, where you take care of yourself and taking care of your body, and how this starts to actually shift your face. It literally starts to shift your face. And I've seen this again and again in people. And so this is the power of a face analysis in our awakening session. This was after one session with Michael, and all this opened up for him. And we still remain really good friends. And I'm so grateful that he allowed me to use his face in my episode here to really highlight this for you. Like maybe for you, during this episode, you highlighted parts on your face. Like maybe you dived into what my face shape says about your self-leadership and something opened up for you. Maybe you're listening to this episode and a part of your soul is being called. And so let me ask you that question that I asked Michael. What are you going to do about that for you? I hope this question I'm asking you today will also impact you to a degree that it impacted Michael. To not only take information up here and to bring it and drop it deeper into your heart and body. Because your soul is calling you deeper. If you feel like there's a part of you that is here for more, it's not looking out there, it's coming back in. And this is just the most tangible, non-tangible method to do it, to use your own face and body, to really see yourself in a whole different light, to feel yourself in a whole different light, to open yourself to the world in a whole different light, where you get to be first, truly loving and accepting yourself and expressing that through your impact and purpose out into the world. I hope this episode really moved you, touched you, spoke to a part of you that hasn't been spoken to before. Because that's one of the ways I work with people, is that I am speaking to your soul. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you want to dive in and you're ready to just take yourself to that next level, to uncover what you don't know, to bring the unconscious to the conscious, to be loved and seen and to be heard and to be recognized for all that he or she is, please reach out to me. Feel free to book a session down with me where we dive into you and to really open you up to more of what you're meant to do, what you're meant to bring to the world by honoring you first. Lots of love to you. I hope to talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode, and leave us a review so others can find the life-changing content that we're sharing here. We are starting our movement on our way to number 1, and we need your help to get there. If you'd like to connect with other high-achieving entrepreneurs and leaders who are also on their authentic, energetic leadership journey, join our free Facebook community, Energetically Aligned Leaders. Go to pathtotheheart.com/links to join the Facebook group, book your personalized face analysis experience, or to access our resources.